Hello, all you people out there in internet land. My name is Britt Kolick. I use they, she pronouns. I'm a professional stage manager, and today I'm answering your questions. I threw up an AMA on my Instagram, link down below. Highly recommend you go check it out. I do some stuff exclusively on Instagram that I do not do here, so go check that out. And I got some questions, and I have some answers. This one's from Michael. How do you maintain your routine between shows so you don't fall out of step? First, it was establishing a good routine. This past year, have gotten myself into a really good morning and evening routine that I call my bookends of the day. It starts my day off on the right foot and I end my day off on the right foot. And my morning routine is I get up, I do Duolingo from my bed. Do not judge me, it works. I do a set number of sit-ups that has just slowly increased throughout the year. I take my vitamins, I try to drink a bunch of water with my vitamins. That way I get hydration in me early, and then I make my bed. And that's 4 things before my first cup of coffee. I do that no matter how early or how late I get up. If I'm leaving at 7 o'clock on a train, I will get up at 5:30 to do this. If I have had a crazy night out before and I get out of bed at 11:30 or 12, I will still do those things first thing, even when I don't want to do it, because I know I'm going to feel better after I do it. My evening routine is wash my face with a cleanser, moisturize my face and my neck. Don't forget the neck, guys. I floss my teeth, I brush my teeth, I use mouthwash, and then I go to bed. And I'll do that if I get home at 7 p.m. and go to bed at a reasonable hour. I'll do that if I get home at midnight and go to bed at 2 a.m. Always, always, always do that. How I maintain that routine is truly, I have an addictive personality, which is really good and really bad. Addictive personalities are double-edged swords because it means I can get addicted to bad stuff really easily, but I can get addicted to the good stuff really easily too. And I think it takes like 21 days to make a habit. Just take it one day at a time and get to like day 22. You can get in that routine and in that habit. I am somebody who also personally just really thrives having a routine. And I finally decided to be smart about it last year and really commit to one that was going to make me feel good, get my body moving, get my brain moving, get water in me, and at night taking care of my skin and taking care of my teeth, and therefore taking care of myself. Some days are more difficult than others. I mean, some days I just don't feel good. Some days I don't feel like getting up. Some days I just want to keep scrolling on TikTok, whatever. But I know I will feel better after I do it. I just have to get over myself and go do it. And I have found that having a routine that I do every day, regardless of what's going on outside of my life, has made transitions into and out of shows so much easier. It used to really be hard for me to get a new routine outside of a rehearsal process. It used to be really hard for me to have a routine just as a human, even though the rehearsal process routine is really set in stone. And even when I got out of tech and out of my show, getting back into a natural routine, not having to go to a theater every night was always very hard. And I found that having a solid morning and a solid evening routine have really helped ease those transitions, because regardless, every morning I'm doing the same thing and at night I'm doing the same thing. So it's just made that what happens in the day feel a little less jarring and feel a little less of a major shift. That's how I maintain it. The don't fall out of step is something that I've been doing theater for nearly a decade, between like high school, college, and professional. And my job as a stage manager is the same everywhere I go. What changes are the people and the show, and sometimes just like the general nature of the building. But I can fall into a routine so easily for shows. I can fall into a rehearsal routine very easily. I can fall into a tech routine and a show routine very easily. So again, that's why I love having a set routine in my daily life, because it just eases that transition into the rehearsal routine, and it eases the transition out of a show routine into daily life. And then I'm not spending a week and a half, 2 weeks figuring out my life without a show. I don't know if this is all psychosomatic. I don't know if any of that even made sense. That's what I do. That's how I maintain it. I just sort of get up and do it. I truly just have to get over myself some mornings and go and do it. I hope that answered your question, Michael. This one's from Della. Favorite right-hand man of the past? Della's asking this because Della was my right-hand man on the Wizard of Oz Youth Edition. And she was a great right-hand man. She was my stage left person, actually, which is funny, so she was like my left-hand man. Della, you did a fantastic job. You were fun to work with. You were great to work with as an actor, so the fact that you transitioned into like an ASM role so easily was really cool to see. Truth be told, I've only ever had 2 really bad assistant stage manager stories. those are stories for another time. I will go through periods of I have an ASM on every show I work on to it's just you, figure it out, you have no ASM. I will shout out, so I've shouted out Della, shout out Lauren, who's my ASM through two of the most trying shows of my career. Dude, I love you. Thank you so much. Shout out to Thomas from Seven Angels. Thomas was so much fun to work with. Great ASM, great instincts, really great to work with, really fun, matches energy really well. Thomas, can't talk enough about how great you were. And then shout out to my homie Caroline, who's my ASM on Arsenic and Old Lace. She's currently in New York right now working off Broadway. So proud of her. But she was somebody who I worked with when she was still a student at Point Park. She was doing this gig. And she taught me how much fun theater was supposed to be, even though it's professional. She reminded me how much fun this industry is and how much fun being in theater is, and was just a great vibe to have backstage. And our Snake and Old Lace was such a joy all around, and she was a big reason of why that was so much fun to do. Immaculate paperwork, great person, great stage manager. So excited to see where her career takes her. Sorry, Della. I've been very spoiled in the past with really good ASMs and right-hand people. So these next two questions are from Drew of Drewbop fame, who is linked down below because she's done my wonderful intro. Highly recommend you go check her out. If you catch her Thursday night streams, you'll often catch me in the chat just being a little menace. So but go check her out. She does great work. She's so funny. Drew asks, favorite show you've worked on? That is actually a quick two-part answer. That is the 39 Steps and Mean Girls high school version. I could talk all day about how I got to do the 39 Steps, but I won't in the interest of time. That'll be a story for another day. But the 39 Steps gave me three people in my life who are just incredible. It gave me my ASM, Lauren, Rachel, and Kendall, who are two actors in that show. It's a 4-person show. Rachel and Kendall were two actors in it. Rachel was my Pamela, Margaret, Annabella, and Kendall was one of my clowns, so she played like 20 different characters. Lauren and I had done the show previous, and that's a story for another day, but she stuck with me on that, and she stuck with me through 39, and she's still one of my great friends. We were just texting the other day about something stupid and unrelated to theater, but to watch her career as a stage manager has been great. I love to go anytime she's doing a show that I can go see, I love to go see her and see what she's up to. And Rachel and Kendall are two of the best actors I've ever worked with. It was such a privilege to get to watch them in a rehearsal room, figure out these characters that are all so different from each other, and to just see the fearlessness and the chameleon-like ability that they both have to just become somebody else on stage, because I can't do that. I can't not be myself if I've tried, and I have tried a lot. So it just was a pleasure to watch. They're two of the nicest people I've met, two very great friends. The four of us, in some amalgamation, whether it was 2, 3, or 4, we would go out every week during that rehearsal process, which was so much fun. It was the first time I really got to experience that kind of camaraderie outside of a rehearsal room. Most shows you become friendly with people, but I think it's sometimes very rare that a friendship lasts beyond a show. And all 3 of those friendships have now lasted, we're going on 2 years now, which is crazy to think about. And it's been a true pleasure to watch all of their careers and see where they've gone, and they've supported me throughout all of this, which has just been a great gift to me. They are just 3, I can't speak highly enough of all of them, and I'm probably doing a really bad job of that. The 39 Steps, for as much fun as it was to do as a show, it's such a funny show, it's such a technically heavy show, there's so much that happens, and there's so much for a stage manager to keep track of. But besides all of that, what that show gave me in terms of people in my life, I'm forever grateful for that show. And Mean Girls high school version was the first show I did at the CLO Academy, which was, I put too much pressure on myself for that, which I really didn't need to. Danny and Rocker were 2 of the best directors and choreographers I've ever worked with. I got to work with them again on a chorus line, and it was so much fun to work with both of them. They were so great. That was the first show I learned that I could work with teenagers. I could work with like 13 and up, which was a really good lesson for me to learn, because I won't apply to anything that says children's theater anymore, because I realized I can't work with kids, but I can work with teenagers. I can have a rapport with them. And what's crazy is I was very nervous working with teenagers, and those kids really sort of defied any expectations I had. They were great to work with. They were all students who you could tell wanted to go pursue theater professionally. This wasn't just a fun hobby for them. This was something that they saw themselves doing in the future. So they took it pretty seriously, but they had all these moments of like really fun and joy, and they kept me on my toes. They reminded me to like laugh at myself too, which was always fun. And for me as well, I meet so many teenagers and college students and like young professionals who have had such bad stage managerial experiences. They've had bad experience with their stage managers, mostly because their stage managers were on power trips. So at the end of that run, when the students came up to me and said like how like it was a great joy to work with me and they really liked working with me and they were hoping I was going to come back and continue to work with the academy because they liked working with me, that was a big compliment to me, and I told them to remember that because this is what a good and healthy theater environment should be. I was really happy to give a positive experience and have these students take a really good experience away from it, when I know, especially when it comes to teenagers, a lot of people can get on power trips, and I didn't want that to be the case. I wanted to be authority, but I wanted to be somebody that they could come and talk to if there was an issue that they were having, if there was a concern. And I wanted to be somebody that they trusted to help make this show go off. It was a lot of fun. Mean Girls is one of those shows that is so cool. It was my first big musical outside of college. That was a cold email that led me much farther than I'd expected to get. So I loved Mean Girls. That is a show that if you offered me right now Mean Girls, I'd take it in a heartbeat. So much fun. Alternative from Drew: what advice would you give someone who wants to pursue a career in theater? Couple of things. One, it's a mind switch. Theater is often something that starts out as a hobby. It's something you do for free. It's something you do for fun. When you want to have a career in theater, you want to be able to pay your bills and feed yourself doing theater. So there's a mental switch. It becomes less about, oh, I want to do The Little Mermaid because it's my favorite musical and I want to be Ariel. It becomes, cool, this place is hiring and this is what they'll pay me weekly, and I'll be able to afford my rent and be able to feed myself. Great, let's apply. It's a mental shift. You're not necessarily doing something, you're always doing something you love because you love acting or you love designing or you love stage managing, but you're not necessarily working on a show that is so important to you. Not everything gets to be like the end all be all. This was a great, this was like a life-changing moment. Some things you just do because you need to take a paycheck. That being said, you need to find another hobby. My hobby is theater content creation. Would not really recommend it, but it works for me. I also write. A lot of things I do when I'm not in a theater, especially in the winter months, is I just want to be home enjoying my rent. So that's my hobby, is enjoying my rent. But you finding another hobby, a lot of people crochet, a lot of people knit, coloring books. There are other hobbies out there, but finding something that you can do that brings you joy, because when theater is something you do to pay your rent and put food on the table, it's not always going to be fun, and it's good to have something that is fun, that you can shut your brain off for and just enjoy for a little bit of time. So I recommend finding a new hobby. I also recommend, and this was a lesson that I have been learning for the past 4 years, how to take rejection. My first major piece of rejection came 2 days after I graduated from undergrad. Granted, I was dealing with a whole lot of other things, including a global pandemic, but it hit me really hard. Since then, I just realized the other day, because I was thinking about it, last year I got rejected from 12 different fellowship or internship programs. And it sucked, but it did not faze me one bit. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and was working on other things, and eventually ended up moving to New York. I was rejected from 11 different theaters in Pittsburgh. There's a folder on my email that probably has 120 emails in it, and I'm gonna say 80 of those are rejections or I've never heard back from. I've had no less than 30 rejections I know outright since moving to New York. For me, it's a numbers game. And I think that if you start thinking about it like a numbers game, it just becomes, okay, this one didn't want me, whatever. This one's holding on to my resume, whatever. Like, what can I apply for that is happening now that can get me to paying my rent, paying my bills, getting food on the table, X, Y, and Z. I'm so much less particular in what I go out for, and I so don't care if they don't want me, because it's like, cool, on to the next one. That being said, currently, and the whole reason why I'm making this Q&A video, because I wanted a distraction, there is something I applied for that I allowed myself to want wholeheartedly. And I haven't really wanted something in a while. I did want the Connecticut gig, and I had a really good feeling about that Connecticut gig. But before that, like, I don't really want, like, deeply, wholly, with everything, like, keep myself up at night, want something. And I think that you are allowed to have like 1 or 2 of those a year. Being rejected also goes in the line with don't take it personally. When you walk into a theater, I sometimes have to physically pretend I'm holding a bag and drop it. Most of the times I can just do it mentally, but sometimes if it's like a really heavy stuff, I like physically pretend to hold a bag and drop it. I don't take anything personally, and I try not to say anything that is personal, because we're all there to do a job. And sometimes it feels personal because acting, especially like acting, you're being somebody else, you're being very vulnerable on stage. It's very like hard. Stage management as well, because of everyone operates differently. So sometimes when you're doing something that somebody else doesn't understand, it can feel like a personal attack on you, but it's really not. So I don't take anything personally in a theater. I try to leave all of that in the theater. I try not to take any of that negativity home with me. It's very hard to do. Yeah, try not to take anything personally. Get really good at handling rejection. This isn't easy. A career in theater is not easy. It is not for everybody. Some people I know only do theater for fun, and they like that, and they are cool with how I pursue theater and how I'm pursuing it for a career and for financial stability, and I am cool with them doing it for fun, and we have this mutual sort of understanding of that's what you want to do and that's what you want to do. And some of your friends are only going to want to do theater for fun. So if you really want a career in this, you have to get used to the fact that some of your friends don't want a career in this and won't take certain things as seriously as you. And that is okay. It is okay to take your career seriously, but you have to understand some people just want to do this for fun and they will not take it as seriously. And that is 100% okay. That's sort of the advice I would give for someone who wants to pursue a career in theater. It can be done. Don't let anyone tell you it can't be done. There are a lot of people who have very successful careers in theater. So don't get discouraged, and don't get discouraged easily. It can happen, it will happen, it just might not happen as quickly as you want it to. And that is a lesson that I am learning right now. Sometimes these things take time, so just be patient. And as always, drink water and give yourself grace. I really appreciate everyone who asked me a question. This was a ton of fun for me to do. Judging by the length of this video, I just like to talk, and I love to talk about theater. So thank you again for all of the questions. Can't wait to do this again. Make sure to drink water, give grace, and I will see you in the next video.